Exactly. One of the most iconic scenes, boom, split over the
Mm.
water. The guy, the guy has a famous line saying, 50,000 volts, motherfucker, have a nice day. Um, I use that line when I put my daughter to bed and turn off the lights. I say the same thing. She
Sweet
has.
dreams, honey.
Welcome to Rewind Forward, a podcast that covers sci-fi films from the 80s, 90s, and beyond, where time is a theme. That's the important part. We watch these flicks through our own measuring system, TAP, technology, accuracy, and prediction, to see if the reviewed film has stood the test of times. We will review 5 categories: an introduction, a rewind where we go back in time with the movie, a forward where we look at the future the movie predicted, and guess where we ask each other a question from the movie, and finally, an overall grade for the flick. This week, we welcome the muscles from Brussels in Time Cop. Aaron?
Same matter. Can't occupy same space. Thank you, Rafal. I'm excited to be here with you as we review Time Cop today. This is a good one.
Yeah, give me the specs on that one.
Yeah, so looking at Time Cop, and came out in 1994, which is one of the time periods in this movie, directed by Peter Hyams. One of the producers on here, Sam Raimi, Spider-Man, The Evil Dead. So pretty interesting. 98-minute running time. It seemed really quick. You know, movies today are like 2.5, 3. Like every movie is. This movie was just like, you know, in and out, all fast paced. It was great. Budget $27 million, and they made 101.6. So
high grossing film for Van Damme, the highest.
There you go. Yeah, pretty good grossing film, and better than I remembered from watching it. You know, back in the 90s. Kind of stood the test of time.
Yeah. What do you remember about the film? What sticks out if you just had to be put on the spot?
Yeah. So one, the cars. You know, looking at the cars in the scene, I don't know, look like futuristic golf carts. And then the last scene where Van Damme is driving back home, and it looks like there's a garbage can sticking out of one side of the car. So the cars definitely stood out in my mind, not for a positive, and a lot of T2 references in this movie. I was surprised. Like I was watching, I'm like, that's kind of similar to T2. Like, oh, there's another one. And we'll get into those, you know, throughout our work today. But a lot of T2 references throughout the movie. How about you? What stood out in your mind?
Virtual porn. Can't go wrong with VR porn. It was pretty much dead on. A little off as far as the year, maybe by a decade, but it was dead on. And I appreciated how realistic it looked. I heard from a friend it's pretty close to what it is.
Friend, huh?
Exactly. A close friend of mine just told me about the experience.
Okay. Now, how about Jean-Claude Van Damme? Let's talk about him for a little bit, because interesting, a lot of splits in this movie again. And I think that's probably in his contract, right?
It has to be.
It's got to be in his contract. In every movie, I have to do a scene where there's a split. Write it in, make sure the producers know I'm in this movie. I'm doing some splits and some kicks and wearing loose fitting pants or boxers. You know, because he's going to be kicking and splitting all over this thing.
Yeah, the iconic one is obviously Bloodsport. That's where that's where it kind of begins for Van Damme with the splits, but also leads to the next item that I think is required in his contract, and that's a nut shot. He tends to kick or punch or use an object to kick someone in the nuts.
Yeah, was it a Bloodsport where he does in one of the fight scenes, right? He does a split and then gets a guy from underneath.
Two for one special, like it was a sumo guy, so he was rocking. It was like a skirt. I remember watching this when I was 8 years old, and it was in slow mo, and he just gets him real good. Yep. And you see perspiration, and I'm thinking, wow, Van Damme's got some sweaty fists. Then as I got older, it wasn't from the fist.
That wasn't Van Damme sweat.
No,
That
no,
was not Van
no,
Damme sweat.
no.
Mm-mm.
It was pretty graphic when I think about it.
Yeah.
It was an R-rated movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a good one. So yeah, a lot of nut shots. You know, it's funny. I was watching some older Schwarzenegger movies too, and Total Recall, and Schwarzenegger takes a lot of nut shots in that movie too. And I
Yeah.
think it was like a '90s action thing. Just that's how you would take a guy out. It's just you're going to hit him in the nuts. You don't see like action stars these days. You don't see The Rock. You don't see these action stars of today taking a lot of nut shots.
So the movie in '94 came out. That was probably one of the best years for films. Period. You want to
Oh,
run through some names,
oh,
some titles?
some great films that year. Forrest Gump. This is just starters. Forrest Gump, The Professional, Pulp Fiction, Lion King, Shawshank Redemption.
Mhm.
Great year for Jim Carrey. Had The Mask, Ace Ventura, and Dumb and Dumber. The Usual Suspects. Interview with a Vampire, Legends of the Fall, Above the Rim, Speed, True
True
Lies.
Lies. Yeah.
True Lies was in there. Just some great movies. And I think another Van Damme movie too,
Uh
right?
oh.
Street Fighter.
Uh oh.
Street
Yeah.
Fighter.
That's one of those movies where you want to forget.
You
Um,
do. I don't think we'll be reviewing that one.
no, I don't think we'll
Yeah.
be reviewing. Tidbit about Street Fighter. There were two main games back in the '90s: Street Fighter
Mhm.
and Mortal Kombat.
Yep.
Johnny Cage, initials JC.
Oh,
That character is based on Van Damme, and he does a split in Mortal Kombat.
there you
That's
go.
one of his moves. And they asked Van Damme to do Mortal Kombat. He declined, so he took the other flick,
Yep.
Street Fighter.
Mortal
Interesting
Kombat.
choice.
Yeah. Mortal Kombat was actually pretty good.
The first one was half decent. Yeah.
Yeah, first one was Street Fighter, not so much.
Let's rewind. All right. So, first scene. Take us there, Aaron.
1863. We go way back in time when we start off this flick. We go way back in time to 1863 to Gainesville, Georgia. And of course, since we're going back in time to the Confederacy, they picked the right guy to go back in time with, right? A toothless hick goes back in time. He's got the Southern drawl, and he's just asking kind of casually for Robert E. Lee's gold.
Politely, like two or three
Yeah.
times. He's like,
Yeah, that's right. Please. I think he says please in there a little bit. Please, can I have the gold? Yeah, he was very polite. Does mention he's a friend of the Confederacy. That was kind of interesting that he was a friend of the Confederacy. I don't know what that looks like in 1994 or 2004, but he goes back in time. Not really sure how that much gold travels through time, though, right?
Right. Physically, it's heavy.
It's heavy. Yeah. Was he just have to like touch the gold and it comes with him? Does he have to carry it in bags? Like, I'm not sure how he gets all that gold, back to the future.
Right.
So I'm not really sure how that worked, but he does do it. He figures a way to do it.
Now, how does he do? How does he do it?
Straight from the hip. Just opens fire, blasts every single one of those Confederate soldiers. Doesn't hit a single horse, right? All the horses afterward, they just get up, kind of walk off, graze on some grass.
Yep. Peter was happy. Peter was happy.
That's right.
All right. So next scene is the senator scene in Washington, D.C., which is actually a really, really good scene. Give us the lowdown, Aaron.
Yeah. So first and foremost, the head of the committee reminds me a little of Barack Obama. He's got a little Barack Obama in him,
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that was one of the predictions in this of this movie, that they knew they were going to have a Barack Obama lookalike as president coming up. But reminded me a little bit of him. I thought it was a great way to introduce the scene and let the audience know kind of what's going on in the film. Right? Mm-hmm. They talk about the time travel. I think it's kind of interesting too, kind of silly how all the senators are around. You have that one guy who, he's like cracking jokes, like beam me up, Scotty. And then the minute that this guy who's, in charge of this committee says, we've time traveled, all of a sudden he takes it seriously. He's got zero proof, it's just like this guy says, we've done it. And the guy's like, oh my goodness, like how'd you figure that out? He just picks up on it immediately. But yeah, I thought a really great way to introduce everyone, and couple other interesting tidbits in here. They talk about time travel. You can't go forward in time
Mhm.
because it hasn't happened yet, only back in time. I'm not really sure, don't know too much about time travel, but I would figure if you can go backwards, why not go forwards?
Yeah, but most flicks that deal with this theme usually stick to the we can only go back.
Hmm.
Now, Back to the
That's
Future.
that's assuming time is linear, right? I
Yeah,
mean, I don't know all the specs of it, but
yeah.
who knows? I thought a good way, though, good way to introduce everything. Um, Talk about how going. He also mentions like going back in time can change things, and it could be a catastrophic event, like throwing a stone in a lake. Not sure throwing a stone in a lake is a catastrophic event, but that's the analogy he brings up. And
Yeah, that's
then
used quite often, the whole ripple thing.
the whole ripple thing, yeah, yeah. I
But
get it. But then the way he mentions it, he's like, it's going to be a catastrophic event, like throwing a rock in a lake. And I'm just like, I don't know if that's a catastrophic event.
well, maybe they wanted to indicate the whole process of going through, because it does look like a ripple effect when you go
It
back in
does,
time.
yeah. It
So,
does. Yeah.
maybe
In the movie, it does, right? As they travel back in time, it looks like
a ripple.
those, yeah, like the time travel is like a ripple
Mhm.
on a lake. Now, and then the last thing, he, um, the police commissioner is going to be the head of this committee. Like, why not a scientist who understands these time travel concepts?
Right.
The police, he's right. The police commissioner is now going to become the head of this committee, and I'm not really sure what qualifies this police commissioner to do
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
Not sure why they don't get a scientist, right? Because he also mentions, in those folders, it explains how time travel works, and none of you are going to understand any of it, right?
Exactly.
So get maybe someone who can understand how time travel works to be the head of the committee.
Yeah,
Just a thought.
get ahead of the game.
Get ahead of the game. Yeah. And then one last interesting tidbit here was after the senator, one of those senators, the one who's talking, everyone else is basically, silent. He decides at the end to celebrate with a pipe. I thought that was an interesting choice. 94. Who's in office?
So, like Willie, Bill
Hmm.
Clinton.
Bill Clinton, and obviously cigars would have been a more appropriate choice to celebrate with.
Yeah, if we really want to go hardcore with the '90s and White House, there were no interns in the background of the
Mm,
scene. So, if you really wanted to bring it to point, a cigar and interns in blue dresses
yep.
in the background, that would have done it. Our next scene is the mall, which is an interesting scene because we get to meet JCVD for the first time, and we meet him. Well, we kind of mentioned that with the contract. He does a split kick, and and you want to go over that scene real quick?
Yeah. First and foremost, it opens up like Ferris Bueller's Day Off,
Mhm.
right? As we see his wife walking in, I'm like, wait a minute, did they cross movies here?
Well,
Um,
they kind of did it with the actress, though, right?
they did
Yeah,
definitely, and she looks, I mean, pretty
she looks.
similar to Ferris Bueller's, to
Yeah.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off. She looked pretty good in this movie, though.
Yep. Yep.
Um, and then just watching this scene now, kind of freaks you out, right? No one's social distancing.
Nope.
No one's wearing a face mask everywhere you go.
Nope.
You get, I don't know, you feel a little anxious watching this movie with no social distancing going on. But yeah, so we pick up, and he got one of those kicks right to the purse snatcher's face, right? And he says, "What is he? Something like, read the shoe."
Read the shoe. Yeah.
It's like, no, between the lines. I should get out of here, shouldn't I? Hmm.
Or said like he said something to the effect of I should get the fuck out of here. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And
Such a
then one more, a couple of good one-liners in here for Van Damme, and his wife asks him about the TEC, and is it dangerous? And how does she even know about it at this point? I would think they would want to keep this pretty confidential. Anybody who's going to be time traveling, like,
yeah.
you can't talk to anyone about this. I mean, I guess it's his wife, but
Yeah.
there may be some, I don't know if you want to talk about it inside of the mall, but she mentions, is this dangerous? And Van Damme says, I don't bake cookies for a living. I mean,
I wanted to know what the second line would have been if this one didn't make the
if
cut.
that one didn't make it, I want to know who wrote that line. Who put that line in there?
Exactly, exactly. Who's the writer behind that
Who's the
one?
writer behind that one?
Yeah. So in that scene, we also get a hint of Terminator again.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So they're walking. I think they're trying to leave the mall, and this random dude just comes out of nowhere and snaps a Polaroid picture, and that's definitely T1, the ending with Sarah Connor.
Yeah, super awkward too. This
Yeah.
guy just kind of creeps up on them, snaps a picture. They're not even, ready, not looking. He just rolls up on them, snaps this picture, and Van Damme just automatically goes for the wallet, pulls out like 3 or 4 singles, and hands it over to the guy. So a little awkward, but yeah, definitely a Terminator reference. There's a couple more coming up.
Yeah. So the next scene is one of my favorites. It's the 1920s. We go back in time, like really rewind. And Van Damme's ex partner wants to make some money in the stock market. How does he do it?
Mid-State Oil. So he
Mhm.
goes back, and what's interesting about this scene is he goes back and then does the research in the
Yeah.
1920s.
Yeah.
He busts out the newspapers and he's kind of going back and forth, like, what stocks were down here? And then he looks at the paper, from the current time, like, what stocks are going up? You would think he would do that research before he goes back,
Mhm.
but he decides to do it while he's there,
Yep.
and then busts out like for some reason, it didn't really make sense. He's just circling, the stocks in the newspaper, but decides he needs to take out his headphones and play some kind of, I don't know, look like a half cassette part cartridge type
Zip
musical thing.
card. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if they just like, hey, let's kind of show that he's from the future and all this futuristic stuff, but I don't know what time period that thing was from.
Exactly. Because technically he's coming from 2004. iPod already came out. MP3s were quite prevalent everywhere. So not sure why he's logging around something so large
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and
And
listen to
why is he even playing it at all?
yeah
Why does he need to put his headphones on and listen to music while he's circling some stocks? You'd think he'd want to buy the stocks and just get out of there as quick as possible.
yeah, and he's a heavy metal fan, I guess, because that's the
Hmm.
music that was blasting. And that's the first scene that where we see time travel as as far as the ripple effect, the CGI, the bubble, where Van Damme comes in to get him, and that's an interesting scene because his ex partner brings in 2 goons to take care of Van Damme.
I think some more nut shots in this scene too,
Yeah,
right? I think there's a couple more nut shots
and splits.
and splits, right? Interesting to me though was that the opening scene in '94,
Mhm.
he gets whooped up pretty good by those 2 goons from the beginning. When they kind of take him from his house, he gets
Yeah,
the gun butt to the face, and then
yeah.
I mean they just do a number on him. But the guys from 1929 didn't stand a chance.
Nope. And they were actually quite big. And
Hmm.
one of them even mentions boxer Sullivan. I went 10 rounds with Sullivan. And Van Damme goes with his famous line, I
Oh
saw
yeah.
Tyson on HBO.
And then just whoops his butt after that.
Yeah.
Pulled out, yeah, I mean, he pulled out some moves. He did a split to avoid the lamp,
Mhm.
right? The guy's swinging the lamp, does a split to do that, does a wall climb, like the guy's holding on to him, feet go up the wall, around the other side of him, delivers a nut shot to that guy.
Mhm.
Yeah, he does a number on those guys from 1929, but the guys from 1994, he had no chance.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, Another thing is his ex partner takes out a gun that doesn't look like it belongs in any time, actually. It's quite big and has a punch to it. He wants to get Van Damme, he wants to kill him, but the gun just doesn't add up for 94, 2004, anywhere in between. So I got to say that part just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, and then the whole death penalty thing too, right? When Van Damme gets this guy, his partner, back into the current time, and they just the woman who's like they go to like
The
looks like
three judges. Yeah.
the three judges, right? And only the woman in the front speaks. The other two are.
Mm.
It's like, do you have anything to say? And Van Damme's like, come on, tell him. And he's like, no, I have nothing to say. And then she's just like, okay, you get
No,
the
no.
death
Actually,
penalty.
what's funny is she looks over to the left, to the right, doesn't even nod or anything. She's like,
Nope,
okay, death.
death penalty. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think that's how the judicial system works
I don't
anywhere.
think so. No, I don't think it does. But
Time travel, death.
that's how it does in TEC. And then he gets the death penalty by continuing the fall that he was taking. You know,
Which is quite prevalent in the 20s. We go from the roaring 20s to the soaring 20s.
that's
Uh,
right.
A lot of people picked up a habit of just flying or trying to fly.
Mhm.
Yeah,
All right, so we're going to his apartment.
Yeah, let's start off with the apartment scene where Jean-Claude Van Damme, JCVD, is living the life as a bachelor in 2004, 10 years after his wife died.
Yeah, so it's 10 years. Pretty solid bachelor pad he's got going on, right?
Mhm.
Nothing but liquor. It's got bottles of liquor, bottles of booze lying around. They do a pan at some point, and you just see like an onion and a cutting board sitting on the table. I don't know what he was doing with that. Probably lots of takeout. Not
A lot of
doing
knives, which comes in handy later on.
a lot of knives. Yeah, they do have like a whole sword fight with knives in a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, what I thought was a little strange to me in this scene is that like as soon as he goes in, you know, the first thing he does is, you know, tells the TV, like, play the tape of my wife, you know, from 10 years earlier. I think at 10 years, probably time to move on.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, I guess he has it in the back of his head that there's a way to change the, you know, change the future, go back and change things. But at some point, you think he's, I don't know, get on Match.com, Plenty of Fish, something.
Yeah.
He could do pretty good, I think, for himself on the open market, right?
Fit, French, speaks a couple languages.
Yeah, yeah.
Not well, but speaks well. Nonetheless, one thing though is that part where he walks in and mentions TV turn on 2004 that didn't really exist. It was close, but
It was close.
it didn't exist at that time.
No. The talking tech, and we'll cover that in a little bit. The talking tech was pretty good. Maybe a little bit early on it,
Yeah.
but I'm giving them a plus grade for that, for all the talking tech, but maybe a little bit early. Playing a tape though, 2004. I think he says like play the tape.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a VCR with a tape. Like,
Yeah.
that was a little bit off. But yeah, pretty solid bachelor pad going on here. All white interior.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a theme. That's a theme.
That's a
movie.
theme throughout. Yeah.
Mhm.
Not sure. I don't know.
And it also leads to the apartment scene leads to obviously one of the most iconic splits.
More splits.
And more
That's right.
splits with the fight. A solid fight scene with the Asian guy, and there's a guy with a. It wasn't a gun. It was a.
That's right.
What was it?
Taser.
Oh, it was a taser.
Taser gun.
It was a
The
taser.
crazy thing about that, I think the guy like walks right up to him, holds the taser about like a foot away from his face,
Yeah.
presses it, and Van Damme still has time with a hangover because he
Yep.
drank a whole bottle of booze the night before,
Yep.
reminiscing about his wife from 10 years earlier. Still has time to get out of the way and then whoop everyone's ass.
Exactly. One of the most iconic scenes. Boom. Split over the water. The guy the guy has a famous line saying 50,000 volts motherfucker, have a nice day. I use that line when I put my daughter to bed and turn off the lights. I say the same thing. She
Sweet
has
dreams, honey.
sweet dreams.
Sweet dreams.
But that's probably the most iconic split, I would say, of the 90s.
Yeah, in his boxers, white boxers too. Got to match the white interior of everything else in the house, right? Got the white couch, the white cabinets, the white countertops, and the white boxers.
Yeah, Van Damme has no rusty railroad tracks.
No. No,
He's,
someone else is doing. I don't know if he's spending time doing his laundry. He must. I don't
Yeah.
know. Someone's coming in and do it, or yeah.
Yeah. So that scene leads to one of the best scenes in the entire flick, which is virtual porn. There's no way around it. That scene is phenomenal.
It's a quick cut too. It's a quick cut. You don't see it coming, right? He's
Yeah.
like He's in the director's office, and then all of a sudden, boom! It just cuts right to this woman on this bed.
Yeah, she's fully naked and ready to perform oral sex. So if you watch that movie on a non-premium premium channel, uh, a good chunk of it gets cut out. You actually don't know what he's watching. You just
Right.
see a woman going, huh? And then it cuts to him watching the virtual porn.
Yep.
But if you watch the R-rated version, the
So
lady's
you
about
just
to.
get that last scene where the woman gets up real close, and you just see that one big buck tooth in the front of her mouth. Like,
Yeah. And, you see what every guy wants to see, the top of the woman's head, and you don't see anything else. But what's strange about that whole scene is, well, he's doing it at work.
he's doing it at work, and the director says, "If I catch you doing this again," which insinuates he's probably done this before.
Mhm.
Right? This guy is like a government official working in this government job. I don't know, man. The whole TEC looks like a low budget operation. It looks like they hired a couple of college kids to like hack computers to
Mhm.
follow these time travelers. This does not look like a legitimate government official, position that this guy's working at.
Yeah, but
So,
he's definitely high up there because he's one of the not main actors, but secondary actors.
mhm,
So he's an employee, an important employee that
yeah,
loves watching porn,
mhm,
porn at work.
at work.
Yeah, at work, and it's not like you're watching it on a monitor or an iPhone. He's actually wearing it,
Mm-hmm.
so that tells you right there. He wants to be discreet, but can't.
But not really. He
Not really.
doesn't really care. He's going for it.
The great scene. Virtual porn in 2004 still wasn't there, but close. So 94, when they made the movie, thinking 10 years ahead, um, they had the right mindset, but
They did.
just
They
a
were
few
pretty
years.
close. They were
Yeah,
pretty close on a couple of scenes.
yeah. The next scene leads us to the launch scene, which is quite interesting because you get to feel and see how they actually go through time, and it's quite interesting, right, Aaron?
Yeah, not sure what this thing is. Is it a rocket? Is it a roller coaster ride? I can't quite tell. For some reason, it has flames coming out of the back of this thing.
Hmm.
Not sure if it needs rocket fuel, if it's like a Back to the Future type thing where they need plutonium and some trash to throw in this thing to make it run. Not really sure, but those flames do come in handy a little bit later on. But what I thought, a couple interesting things in this scene. Um, One, this is Fielding, his partner at this point, her first time going, time traveling. And she's asking, like, how dangerous is this? Like, what's going on? And of course, Van Damme mentions, you see those two red spots on the wall over there? Those were the last two guys that didn't make it. Again, this is something like this is a government like official job. You'd think they'd have someone that clean the blood stains off the wall. Yeah.
Yeah,
Get a couple custodians in here, please. Something.
it's bad
Um,
PR.
Bad, yeah, not a good look. Bring in some bleach and some brushes, hazmat suit, whatever they need to do. Get those blood stains cleaned up. They just decided to leave them there, and then as they finally do blast, through time, it seems like this really dangerous, transition. And then you just see a couple of random guys walking right alongside
Yeah.
this transporter as they're going, right? Just randomly walking through like nothing's happening.
Hmm.
I don't know, maybe those were the custodians that had to clean up afterwards in case things didn't go, but
Yeah, they're
not sure
doing a shitty job though.
not sure what was going on there. Yeah.
They go back in time to 94, and the opening shot is a white limo with Senate license plate. Doesn't get any more baller than that.
And that's how they know that they're there. Like, this is where we are. This is the
Yeah.
warehouse. This is where the bad guys are because there's
Yeah.
the Lincoln
Hmm.
with Senate on the license plate.
It was a white limo, and it said Senate or Senator.
Yeah. So going in, this is the first time we see the two McCombs,
Yeah.
right? The two McCombs are together, and the one from the past is like freaking out. Like, what is going on? He's like, I'm a senator. Don't touch me. You can't kill me. I'm a senator. And the other McComb, he's walking really close too. He gets like
Yeah.
real close to him, kind of examine himself.
Yeah.
Um, and as we see at the end, like, you can't touch each other. And he says it at that point, right? Oh, whoa,
Yeah.
like, back up. Same matter, can occupy same space.
Yeah, this is how close.
Why are you getting so close?
Yeah, he even gives him like an envelope or something, and it's like
Yeah.
3 inches away. And one of the best lines is Parker, the creator of time travel. He says something like, "Who are you?" And the older Macomb takes a gun and pistol whips him and says,
Yeah.
uh, "Don't interrupt me when I'm talking to myself."
Myself. Yeah.
Solid line. That is a
Yep.
solid line.
Yeah. He does not like when people interrupt him because he smashes another guy's face, into his car.
In the
You
pure
know.
white
Oh yeah.
suede limo in
Mhm.
2004. Let's not
Yep.
forget that.
While he's eating nuts. He's always eating nuts in the limo. He's always got a
Mhm.
little bowl of nuts that he's munching on in the limo. But yeah, so as that fight scene breaks out, um, one thing in this scene was, Van Damme is walking around with this like big, socket wrench thing that he's like just whooping people up with. And then there's another guy who comes and attacks him with an axe, like comes from behind, right? So the guy like doesn't see, kind of comes at him with his axe, and Van Damme turns around and blocks it and takes him out. And then the first thing he does after that, opens up the guy's jacket, goes into his holster and takes out a gun. If I'm getting into a fight with Van Damme and I have a gun and an axe at my disposal,
Yeah.
go with the gun.
Go with the gun. Go with the gun. Yeah.
Yeah. And then this is right. Here's another T2 scene that you were just mentioning where Van Damme takes the guy and freezes his arm, and that steam that's coming out, who knows
Mm.
what that stuff is, freezes the guy's arm and kicks it off, just like the Terminator 2 with the T-1000.
Yeah. It just
That
comes
where
off.
his arm shatters.
Yeah.
And Van Damme's line after he kicks his leg off and kicks the guy off the balcony, have a nice day.
Have an ice day.
Yeah, a nice day.
But that leads to the next fight, which is with his partner, because she turned. Fielding's turned. So that was an interesting fight because of one line, actually.
Well, first she's whooping him up again,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
I mean, you see him; he takes a beating in this movie. Not sure though. Some people he's like whooping out these martial arts moves. He's taking care of certain bad guys, no problem.
Mhm.
And then other people like Fielding, he's taking a real beating.
Mhm. Yeah. And then he says, "I'm not going to hit a woman." And she starts beating the crap out of him. And then all of a sudden, she tries to kick him. He catches that kick off to the side. And what does he say?
I changed my mind.
Boom!
Right cross, right to the face.
Yeah, exactly. Solid line. Solid line. So the next scene is the hospital scene, which is interesting because you see his wife walking from the hospital while he's walking in. So there's a connection there.
You know if
And how
something's up.
Yeah, and how convenient he finds out that she's pregnant because the blood test is right there in front of him. But
Worst hospital ever.
yeah, worst hospital.
People are just walking into this place, right?
Yep.
He just flashes a badge. I'm a cop. And the lady just like, yeah, go ahead, free reign.
Yeah.
And, he's going in and seeing Jane Doe and, going through all the blood samples. No problem.
Yeah.
No medical
Technically,
privacy laws back then.
This was pre 9/11, so maybe that's why. But
Yeah.
still, hospital, two guys in leather trench coats with bad haircuts are just
Looking real suspicious.
walking around, nothing to see, just walking around, and no one pays attention.
What time period were those haircuts from?
See, that doesn't add up.
Yeah.
Not 94, 2004, but in the trench coats, same thing. It's like we want to blend in, but no, let's rock these trench coats and have really wacky haircuts.
Wacky haircuts, like weird jewelry.
Mhm.
One guy is wearing like under his like black leather trench coat. He's got like some Versace or Gucci shirt or some. I don't know what is going on with those outfits. But whoever did the wardrobe on that, I don't know what they were thinking.
So we go back to the mall again. So we recreate 94, but through the eyes of 2004 with Van Damme and his wife and the older Van Damme. And tell us about that scene, Aaron.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, the was it the rollerblader?
Yeah,
the rollerblader guy from the beginning.
Mhm.
He just gets tossed into a display of ruffles, and Van Damme says, "This is for what you are about to do." The guy's like, "What did I do?" He's just like sitting there, like, "What happened?" Everyone's gathered around. He knew what was going down.
Right.
And yeah, this is kind of where he lets his wife know about what's going on, what's going down. What got me about this scene was that she was like really freaked out. I mean, Van Damme didn't look that different,
Right.
other than the fact his hair was a little bit longer. He kind of had this weird mullet type
Yeah.
thing going on from
Hmm.
2004. The haircuts were really weird in this movie. But he tells her all about that, and then you see the bad guys again, and another T2 scene here, right, where they're kind of going through those back hallways in the mall.
In the mall, yeah.
Yeah, in the mall. Remember that with the T1000 and the Terminator when he comes out with the roses.
Mhm.
The only thing missing in this scene were the roses and all those Pepsi ads.
Yeah.
Right? Remember that one guy who's walking down the hall like, "Hey, you can't be back here," and he's got a can of Pepsi and
Yep.
just gets blasted. But yeah, basically the same scene. So a lot of T2 references or Terminator references. There's another one in the mall.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the director had T2 on his cassette or VHS replaying while he's making this film, because there were a
Mhm.
lot of uh, clips. I don't want to say stolen, but borrowed.
Borrowed.
And the
Yeah, well,
themes,
they're paying homage. We'll say they're
yeah,
paying homage to it,
paying
right?
homage. The themes were pretty similar.
Mhm.
Now, the final scene is the interesting one, because it it kind of closes up everything, the time travel and all that stuff, and also showcases their huge house, right, Aaron?
What's going on with this? This house is like 3 or 4 stories high, right? I mean, going back to that opening scene where they're going back downstairs. You see Van Damme just walking down these flights of stairs. Like, how
Mhm.
long does it take to get from the top floor to the bottom floor? 2 people. I mean, I guess they have plans to have some kids, and
Mhm.
we know they do at the end. But I mean, they better load this house up with 6, 7, 8 kids. This
Yeah,
place is humongous.
yeah, or start renting it on Airbnb.
Airbnb something, but yeah, too big of a place
Yeah.
for just 2 people.
What's interesting about that scene is pretty much the last scene, and the fighting scene has the worst CGI.
Oh, they just lost it there because the CGI up to that point was pretty good,
Yep, yep.
right?
Yeah,
CGI was pretty.
the part where Van Damme appears in '94, and there's a semi truck that's about to hit him, and he gets down just in time. Solid scene. Anytime that there was that bubble,
Mhm.
time travel, was really well done. This one, it's either they ran
They
out of
must have
money.
run out. That's what I was just going to say. They must have run out of money.
Yeah, I think they ran out of money.
They ran out of money. So this is the best we could do. This is all we got left. That was bad. That looked like one of those Sunday afternoon sci-fi network
Yep,
movies.
Sharknado.
Yeah, Super Crocodile versus Mega Shark, and all those. Yeah,
Uh, so that puts the final spin on the movie. Any last things to say about it?
yeah. Just so that final scene. That's where that whole same matter can't occupy
The
same
same
space,
space.
right?
Yeah.
And Van Damme just throws one Macomb into the other Macomb, and they just morph.
Boom.
Yeah, that's another T2 reference, though, right? When the T1000 at the end gets thrown into that liquid metal, and you just
Mm.
see all his other forms come back out. Um, T2, it was done a little bit better in T2 than in
And
this
that was
one.
3 years prior.
And that was exactly, yeah. So, but yeah, definitely another T2 reference. And then what was Van Damme's line as he pushes the one Macomb into the other Macomb?
Oh,
Um,
I'm still kicking. I must be
I
on
must
Broadway.
must be on Broadway. I'm
Yeah,
still kicking.
so
Great
that's a
line,
solid line.
right up
Uh,
there with I'm not baking cookies.
I'm not making.
All right, here is our guessing game. It is guess the scene, where we each come up with something from the movie, and we're going to ask each other a question. So, Rafal, my question to you: what was Van Damme's first line in this movie?
Well, we know that he was introduced at the mall, and one of
At the Bulova Time store, the watch store.
the watch store, which is foreshadowing
Hmm.
and whole time. And I think he says to his wife, "There's never enough time
That's right.
to
That is the line.
satisfy a woman."
And then she says, "For what? To satisfy a woman." Mhm.
There's some truth to that. They always
Two
want
married
more.
men, we both know that. Yeah.
Yeah, they always want more. We're like batteries, we run out. So my question, guess how many splits does Van Damme do in the movie? And a split counts as a regular split
Mhm.
and a kick above 120 degrees.
Okay. I'm sure you measured every single one of them too, right?
I paused.
hmm
Measure.
So we know we got the two splits, right? The one in his apartment, the one where he's back in the, as you called it, the soaring 20s. Um, and and then there was right the two kicks with, or no, he actually doesn't kick the guy on rollerblades a second time, right? Does he throw him in or does he kick him into the ruffles?
That's a good one.
Does kicks the first one, and then oh man, he has a fight scene in his apartment, and then there's that fight scene at the end, which is pretty hard to see everything there. The lighting wasn't great. They were definitely running out of money, right? Because the lighting was bad, the CGI was awful. I'm gonna go with eight kicks.
Close.
Let's.
Close. It's 10, just like the amount of years in between.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. I think
interesting.
that might have been a theme.
They must have matched that up. Yeah, 10 years, and then Van Damme in his contract said, "I need 10 splits." Then in
Yeah.
this movie, you know.
Doesn't do 10 nut jobs, punches. Did I say nut jobs? Punches. Punches to the nuts. But yeah,
Also known
solid.
as a nut job.
Also known as a nut job. All right. So what do you give it as a grade?
Yeah, so let's take a look at our TAP system, right? We got technology, accuracy, and prediction. So
Yep.
the technology aspect, obviously the virtual reality, as you mentioned in detail
Not just
earlier.
virtual reality, porn.
That's right. That's right. And was pretty spot on. I think they were even a little bit early on it, but I'm
Mm,
giving them points for that, right?
yep.
All the talking tech throughout the movie, right? He gets
Yep.
into his car and the car says, "Where to, sir?" And he's
Yep.
like, "Take me home." So, and even in his house, put on the tape, put on this with the TV, put
Yep.
on this movie, and the movie goes on. So all the talking tech, which is current,
Yeah.
so they were a little bit early on it, but I'm giving them credit for predicting that kind of stuff coming up.
Mhm.
Um, Self-driving cars,
Yep.
the car drives itself. We currently have that. I'm giving them points for that. GPS was big there,
Yeah.
and
There's a scene where
obviously
he takes out a GPS device and looks where Macomb and Parker warehouse is.
that's right.
So
Yeah.
close.
So
Actually, that was pretty much dead on because 2004 GPS was taken over.
yep. So I think that was on point. The accuracy aspect, as I mentioned, the tech was pretty accurate. The design of the car is way off. I
Yeah.
don't know what they were thinking. I mean, they show that Lincoln from '94 with the Senate license plate,
Yeah.
and then they think in 10 years that cars are going to look like futuristic golf carts.
Or
And then that,
tanks. Kind of
they're
looked like a tank too. I
yeah,
don't
I
know.
don't know what that thing was. And then that last scene where, Van Damme is driving back home to his wife and kid, and this car looks like it's got a garbage can sticking off the top of it. I don't know whoever designed this stuff.
Well,
Um,
the designer was from Blade Runner, the original Blade
okay,
Runner.
okay.
So he's
Did a better
probably,
job in Blade Runner,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know? He must have
Pro-
been one of the last guys on their budget, and he's like, "This is all we could pay you." And the guy said, "Well, this is all I'm giving you then for these,
he
car
took
designs."
he took coke from Van Damme and just decided to create this
Mhm.
vehicle.
This futuristic vehicle. So definitely off on the cars. And then the white interior of the houses, of the cars.
Cars.
All these like movies from the 80s and 90s thought the future was like everyone would be living in South Beach, Miami. I don't know what was going on with all the white interior. Um, Definitely wasn't on point with that. And then the accuracy, like things like Match.com were out, right? In
Yeah,
2004. Like
yeah,
Van Damme at 10 years, I think that's a cutoff point, right?
yeah.
Time to get on with your life. I mean, before his director was like, "Look, come over to my house for dinner," and he doesn't go. Why doesn't he go over for dinner?
Because the goulash has too much salt, I
Too
think.
salty. The goulash is too salty. Yeah, and he's got to go home and drink a whole bottle of booze and watch a tape of his wife from 10 years earlier.
Right. Also,
He's
another thing that's missing is cell phones in the 2004 era.
no cell
No
phones.
cell phones. By then, we had PDAs, and they were quite prevalent. So yeah, they were way off on that one. It seemed like the communication aspect and information aspect just was not in sync. The monitors in in the task force were all big butt CRTs. Everything's flat screen by 2004. They're all flat
Right.
screen. So
Yep.
how do you have this big fat monitor and then you have virtual porn?
Yeah.
So
You
they
need a
get,
flat screen.
yeah, exactly.
Right. And
So
there's that one scene too where he's um in the payphone, right? Kind of
yeah,
figuring out like where. So, predicting that aspect, using payphones, no cell phones. The political aspect I thought was right on.
hmm
They talk about how
solid
elections are
scenes.
won.
Mhm.
So I think the I mean I guess it's pretty easy to predict political stuff, right? You just have that corrupt politician, and it's like it's the truth. So um, you know.
But
Anytime, Jared, you could have a corrupt politician. It's like, oh yeah, how did they predict that was going to happen?
all right,
Um,
exactly.
and then just the easy access to all his medical records. I mean, I know it was 94, but just to walk into a hospital and just start going through people's blood samples and
Mm.
finding his wife's pregnancy test. And then the last thing for me that was just way off for their prediction was Van Damme's hairstyle in 2004.
Yeah,
It's a little bit of a mullet look. It is a little Don Johnson and Miami Vice thing going on there.
yeah.
I don't think his haircut from like the '94 looked more 2004ish than the actual 2004
Mhm.
haircut. I guess they had to show that he was a little bit different from '94 to 2004,
Mhm.
a little bit more clean cut in the '94, and then as he got older, I don't think he got a haircut since
No.
his wife died. He just let it grow out.
Yeah.
So
So what's your final grade?
so overall, I'm giving it a C plus. If we're grading on a curve, it gets a B minus.
All right, same grade for me, C plus. The cars really killed it for me. The lack of cell phones. What brings it up from like, C minus is the porn, and the talking car, and in a sense, he had like an Alexa or, in his
Yeah.
house. So. Yeah, that was a great movie. If it's on, I'll definitely watch it.
It is better than most of you listening right now remember it.
Right,
Definitely go
exactly,
back and give it another watch.
exactly. Any last thoughts?
Um, Same matter. Can't
Can't
occupy
occupy
same
same
space.
space. All right, we'll sign off on that one.
See you next time.
Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Check out one of our other videos, and don't forget to comment below. We want to hear from you.